Whenever he gets in a fix, he reaches into his bag of tricks.
Right there.
Absolutely. And we're worried if we come in some morning and he's not smiling. S&S design, built in 57 in Denmark.
Look at that. Well, we're 57 in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, it's the same era. All right, we've got the scaffolding. It's all at a new level now. Look at this.
You can see where they come into the frame, they're pitted.
And now this is all clean and ready to receive your first
Planks.
planks, is that correct?
Yep.
Hey, Michael, this guy is working on Disney Shanghai. Come on, it's awesome.
We don't let anybody in with cameras, or from the county or the government.
Everybody remember Mike?
First in,
And last out, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So I want to make sure we have your time scheduled for next spring. We're going to be rigging this thing up next spring. Or I'm going to have Doug's head on a platter.
We'll put it on the
Doug's doing a good job.
Whenever he gets in a fix, he reaches into his bag of tricks.
Right there.
Absolutely. And we're worried if we come in some morning and he's not smiling.
Is this your own design?
No, it's an old 6 meter from the 30s. It was a half model Bloodhound, which was built here. That's a 12 meter up there.
Oh, beautiful. Wow.
I've done some of them are semi-scale, and then some are actually scaled. You have to look at the website and see the finished ones.
Hi, kitties. Hi, who's a pretty kitty? All right, we're gonna go up and take a look at Dave's work. He's been restoring his wooden sailboat, and he's got about a few more years into it than we do, but he's doing it all himself. Oh my God, look how pretty she is. Dave, wow, look at her. Wow.
S&S design, built in 57 in Denmark.
Look at that. Well, we're 57 in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, she's the same era. Beautiful.
I've updated an awful lot of stuff because I race the boat so much, not just in classic events, but in all kinds of races. So I've got all Harkin hardware and aluminum spars, and it's got all the trick stuff on it.
All right, we've got the scaffolding. It's all at a new level now. Look at this, way low. All right, I've made a big workstation up here. It's like people are hanging out up here now, taking a look at some of the finish work.
I got 4 per side. Are we going to leave those ones, or you got to take those out?
What do we got here?
Well, these are the stainless bolts that go through the shear clamp in the frames and the shelf. You can see where they come into the frame, they're pitted. It holds the frames, the clamp and shelf. Here's the old bolt.
Right.
See, they're all pitted right at the frame.
Yeah.
So we've just taken this one out.
How do you get them out?
They're all coming out fairly easy. I use a punch, and we got a new pneumatic gun, so I'm not pounding on them. You know, I might have to use a slide hammer to get that out. I don't know why the punch was hitting metal, but sometimes when they put these in, it spread it a little bit wider than what the diameter of the drill hole is. So I don't want to bang on the plate too hard.
Nice. Got it.
So now we're going to clean this hole, which is metric, with a 3/8 drill bit. And then, as always, we use a heavy hex nut.
Right.
As opposed to a standard nut.
Okay. Washer.
Yep, and that's it. It's the same old story. The hardest part is getting the old one out. So now what we're doing now is we're getting ready to start planking. And to do that, we had to lay out all the butt blocks, which we'll cover in a minute. We have to replace all the stainless bolts between the frame and the shear clamp because they're corroded to varying degrees. And we spent 2 days up here at the stem. I don't know if you remember how it looked, but it was real ugly. It was because the old stem was so bad, we couldn't really lay out the rabbet that good. So we just put it in fat in every direction. Those were installed like little planks, all 1 inch thick, which is what the planks are in their finished dimension. And they were screwed into the rabbet and clamped to the frames back here. And you take a number 5 plane and you just plane this way until that stem goes into that dimension. Okay, both sides. Because the old stem was so like this, we just had to ignore that and put something in that was straight. But we couldn't do anything until the planks were out of the way. So yesterday and the day before, we used those shooting boards to bring the stem to a constant dimension widthwise. Now this stem, from about that stand up, tapers outward.
Really?
Yeah, quite a bit. If you look at it from the bow on, you can see how wide it is down here. And it widens out to about 5 inches. So that's what we were doing day before and yesterday. Now once you have that done, now you can run a batten on the rabbet line this way and plane in a nice fair curve. Until that was done, there was no way to lay it out.
You can't lay out the, you cut all the planks away from them.
Yes, yes. Knowing that their finished thickness is 1 inch.
So now that rabbet is all clean and smooth and...
Right, it's a nice fair curve from there all the way down. You remember the scarf we put in, how ugly it used to be down there?
Yeah.
We got that close. So now what you do is you just leave that stem alone until it's all planked, and then when you sand the boat this way, planks and all, you sand the stem in, and then you can round it off and finish up the curves and so forth. Well, when we installed this with this new knee and everything, and this scarf is 18 inches long, because the old stem was in such bad shape up here, it was crooked, corroded, and there's actually pieces missing. So we couldn't really lay out a nice rabbet. So we laid it out. If you remember, it was kind of chunky right here.
Yeah.
That's all you can do. Also, the stem here was sticking out about this far. It was too wide in every direction.
So that was okay though, because you could smooth
Right.
it down. And take it.
And once we started removing the planks, we split these, and we make these 1 inch pieces that went in the rabbet like this, and they were screwed in, and then you take the number 5 plane and you just start planing this way. That way the stem follows this plank line.
Gotcha.
The taper of the entire boat, in other words. And you see how that lays in the rabbet there?
Yeah, very nice. That's going to be the way the plank lays in.
Exactly. So, and then once this dimension has been brought pretty close to correct, then you can run a batten along here. Get a little batten, Clint. We'll just show them real quick. Hold your top part. Then you can lay this batten in here along the old rabbet line down at the bottom and get a nice...
And take it right up to the top, and that finds you a nice curve.
Nice curve.
So now this is all clean and ready to receive your first
Planks.
planks, is that correct?
Yep.
All right. On the other side, we see Clint popping out a bunch of the old
Bolts.
bolts like this one.
Uh-huh.
Right here.
You can see inside here the new nuts.
Yeah.
And those hold the frames to the clamp and the shelf.
Okay.
These are 4.5, those are 7 inch long. We're using the same old holes. The original bolts were a metric size, so they're slightly under 3/8. So we blow the bolt out and drill down the old hole, the 3/8 inch, and put the new bolts in. Well, I'm thinking we can get 3 out of each one of these.
Out of each one?
They're only, you know, 3.5, 4 inches wide.
4 inches.
So, I mean, you're gonna have waste because of the slight variation in shape as they go,
Sure.
but for instance, the first plank, if you could do it, when you cut this out, you're cutting the top of the second plank.
Right.
It's gotta fit the first one.
Yeah.
But of course you can't do that because it's longer. But in other words, you'll get pretty good usage out of this wide piece of wood. There'll always be waste, but on a narrow piece you might get one plank and have a 50% waste factor. Whereas on this you're down to 15, 20%. Now what we did is we dug down the pile because this is actually a tree sitting here.
We haven't seen the wood for a long time.
All right, we're gonna restack this real quick here. I don't want the sun to hit it too long. This is an actual log.
Yeah.
So the pieces that are stacked on top, because the rings of the tree go like this, see that? They have some somewhat flat grain up here. That's why we dug down to here, because the grain's going almost vertically right here. You always go like this. Ready? We'll get these out of the sun. Deadlift?
Yep.
This stain you see here on the ends, we soaked this with many floods of thinned linseed oil when it arrived so it wouldn't check.
Where's that?
These stains. So that's part of it. Getting the right plank for the right part of the boat. Now, the reason we made these battens this wide is because these planks start about 3.5 and they run out to about 4. So this is 2 1/4, which means this block, when set up against the plank or the plank line above and below, will give you the distance off both the front, the top edge and the bottom edge. Let's say your plank line is here on the boat, okay? You take this little guy and you put it on that line. I usually put it where it disappears. That way it gives you a little, you make a mark on here. You make a mark on here. And I usually put a frame number so that if I'm down here looking at it, I can go, the hell? Oh, it's up there. Now when you bring this back down off the boat, you set on your plank stock using the batten as to get your, and then you just simply lay this up against that little line and make your mark down here, lay it up against the line here, and make your mark up here. So this will give you, at every frame, the shape of that plank. Now you take a long batten and you clamp or nail it, connect all the dots, draw the plank, and cut it. So we'll bolt through this, through the planking with 3 bolts per plank in each butt, just like we do everywhere else, but it'll go through stainless steel.
So the yellows are the butt blocks.
Yeah.
That's the block right there. Mm-hmm. And then the plank before is 1710.
Yep.
And the next plank is 20 feet exact.
Yep.
Nice.
So you draw your plank lengths. Now the starboard side is exactly the same you do on the port side. So you don't have to lay the boat out twice.
Okay. You're going to try to use the same schedule.
Oh, always. Yeah.
Interesting.
Because sometimes it's the only schedule that will work. And why do it any differently? So when we get ready, Clint can be on the other side of the boat and I'll say, frame 20 and 21, plank number 2. And he just marks a yellow. All this looks great. It's in really good shape. You see how these are? Solid.
Okay.
Little tiny holes. We'll be using 1/4 inch carriage bolts there. Put the plank in, get it fitted, you're happy with it. Go inside and you drill outward so that you're using the same exact hole every time. And then come back out of the boat, counter bore on all these, install the bolt, go back in the boat, put the nut on, call it good. But wherever we see bulkheads that are a little bit loose, You can always wedge them apart, put epoxy in them, and re-glue them. Okay. Now we got a couple frames right here, this one in particular, that's lacking, but it's right up against a small bulkhead. So I think we can repair this frame. This one's good. This is the blocking that supports some of the rigging and so forth, okay, the backstays. Yeah. And then back here, this one we'll have to repair, but it's got a big sister alongside to take these heavy, yeah.
Somebody already put a sister.
Yeah.
It's not us.
Now here's a bolt that's completely corroded away, so that'll have to come out, of course. It comes out through here.
Yeah, so there's some work in here.
But you can see
all under here.
Yeah, it's just got a lot. This is the old plank material. It was rotten, but the rabbet seems to be pretty good in the transom. Okay, on butt schedule, I always talk about the minimum. The obvious best butt schedule on earth would be none. All the planks full length, but that's stupid for many reasons. Anyway, so what you want to do is go on a butt. We got a butt right here. You want to go up at least 3, 1, 2, 3, and over 2 in any direction. It's sort of like a knight in chess. Okay, okay. Or you can go 4 and 1 in any direction, whether it's 4 up and 1 over, or 4 over and 1 down. Doesn't matter. Like this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. See it?
Okay. Yeah.
This one. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Wherever you can, of course, you go bigger. Like go down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And the next plank above doesn't have a butt for something like 9 feet, and 9 feet that way.
Okay. Very nice.
So the belly of the boat is very strong. Well, people think of the butt, oh, that's the weakest part of the plank. But if you look at the way this is put in, I've actually seen this. You got 2 bolts here on these frames, see that? Which means if you took this butt block out, you'd have a heck of a time tearing that plank out. But we still use 3 small bolts per plank through the butt block, which laps over the plank above and below about a ½ inch, so it can't come out. And then on top of that, we glue it. So the boat is actually nearly 3 inches thick right here. But in 2 weeks, I'd like to be down at least 3 planks.
Great.
You know, and again, the holdup here is this big old shroud lug, this stainless steel plate. Yeah. So you got to take it off, re-drill it, take it down, put it back on, glue it. We got to paint that. The planks, by the way, that were put on that, had nothing behind them, and that's why that was so rusty. Actually, a real good thing to put on stainless like that. We'll put dolphinite too, but old varnish that's kind of going bad and it's thick, you just slop it on that stainless and put that plank on. Nice. It doesn't ever go anywhere.